but we believe it was a statement because it was quoted in many newspapers where the hierarchy and the leadership of the Catholic Church
yes,
called for a dialogue. And this is a very good light that we have seen.
Has anything happened to that call?
We have sent a formal letter reiterating our desire to have a dialogue and to communicate with the leadership of the CBCP. But until now, we have not received any response.
Right. But how is that going to change, or how is that going to affect the ongoing deliberations on the bill?
Well, if we proceed with a negotiation with lateral talks, side talks, we would not agree that discussions on the floor will be stopped. Because halting the discussion on the floor would be tantamount to delaying the passage of the bill. We can proceed with the debate and the interpellation, but at the same time, we can talk with negotiations. Anyway, amendments will come after the period of debate and interpellation, and that is a period of amendments. We have Congressman Lagman, together with the other authors of the bill, gathered before the recess, the recent recess, and we have agreed on some issues that is quite, there were dissenting opinions on other authors of the bill. And that is the age of reproductive health education.
These are issues that you're amenable to changing?
Yes, and this was agreed upon by majority of the authors of the bill.
One is the age on
reproductive health education, which was stated as grade 5. Well, there were claimors to increase it to high school. And of course, the consent for the spousal consent before undergoing bilateral tubal ligation. I personally believe that the spouse consent, the consent of the husband, should be secured prior, unless the husband and the wife is not living together. So that is also a provision that we have that was agreed upon. And there is this section, I believe that's this is section 17. Which calls for mandatory reproductive health care services of private companies. That's the employer's responsibilities. Majority of the authors have also agreed with that with the global recession, with the hardships.
It might not be practical.
Yeah, it might not be practical to put this burden on the employers. So again, that is a section that is negotiable and can actually be deleted. On the
Since we're talking about issues, negotiable issues, at least from the side of one of the proponents of the bill, earlier in the program we had Ed Soreta from Pro-Life Philippines, and he mentioned two things that they would like amended, or at least they're open to negotiating with. One is the removal on the use of contraceptives, and the other one is the removal of the penalties. Your take on both proposals?
Well, on the removal of the contraceptives, that deletes the freedom of women in the essence. I mean, they are advocating natural family planning, but they're not actually advocating it. They are imposing it. And if we talk about women's rights, we are giving them the right information and the democracy to choose. If we talk about natural family planning, it is only 40% effective. And most of the couples would usually use a combination of natural and artificial family planning, depending on the time which the couple would meet. I mean, they don't usually see each other every day. Not all couples are working in the same place, in the same city, and the other thing is that our government has usually been appropriating some amount for reproductive health care, and if we focus some reproductive health care appropriations simply on natural family planning, I think that's extending the resources, because we can go back to the times wherein the reproductive health care appropriation is being used for both natural and artificial family planning.
But going back to that thought you mentioned on giving women a choice, what Pro-Life was saying earlier was that you were actually imposing the use of contraceptives and not giving women a choice because you would be imposing penalties.
No, that's a blatant lie. We are not imposing, because the services will be available for those couples who would need it and who cannot afford it. Even if you need it but you can afford it, of course, it's stated in the bill, the hierarchy of how contraceptives will be dispensed. And if you look at the penalties, there were penalties, like for example, the prohibited acts.
Okay.
What he was referring to is the abused minor where no parental consent is necessary. In this case, this specifically refers to an abused minor, and it says a certain